Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. And I don't know what kind of tutorial this is going to be. I have it set to slow just so I can talk to you through the very beginning of this. This was a replay sent to me by the wonderful streamer State. You can check him out on Twitch. I believe it's just twitch.tv/state or twitch.tv/statesc2. This was a ladder game he played. I kind of talked about how I've really been liking INnovatioN's builds. This was a game he played against INnovation. And pretty much I'm not allowed to broadcast the replays I have of INnovation because they're all from ShoutCraft. And part of the agreement for Total Biscuit to be able to get the Kespa players is that the replays aren't supposed to be released, which means I'm not supposed to have them. But obviously I was casting them, so I have them. But I'm not allowed to do anything with them. So there you have it. So we do have a game here. And I was going to take some notes and try to pick through everything that happens. That's why we're going to take it really slow, so that we can kind of write everything down. So the most basic stuff is, and that's right, we're breaking out the notepad. The most basic thing that we're going to have is, since I know you guys like build orders so much, it's going to be 14 depot, 15 gas. These are all super standard normal things for a gas first opening. I'm just going to walk through every step of the build and kind of talk about what INnovation does here. Maybe the choices that he makes, how he controls, how he micros. As you can see, 16 racks. This is pretty simple, basic stuff. If you're good at the game, you can probably skip forward a minute or two. This is just going to be the super early, boring stuffs. Yeah, so obviously INnovation's really good Terran player. He's been doing a lot of Cyclone mech lately. I call it Cyclone memes. And I find these styles really cool. So this will be an awesome way for you to learn a little bit of something different. I usually spend a lot of my stream playing Cyclone Hellion. And for the most part, that's just people telling me, Nate, why would you play such a bad style? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah, man, it's pretty fun, and even Korean pro gamers are starting to do it now, so if it ain't broke, don't BM it, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, this is just super standard, ordinary. Orbital command is going to be at 20. I don't write that down because that's dumb, and it's going to be a Reaper. So this is basically a gas-first Reaper expand is what it looks like. Command center is going to get dropped down on the low ground at about, what, 20 supply, 145, so say 20... CC 145. Boom. So you can kind of go off the clock a little bit there if you wish. And then it's going to be a factory, and that was at about 20 supply as well. You could have started your SCV first, so it's going to be like a 20, 21 factory. So maybe 20 factory. But supply, it doesn't always tell the answer. That's why we put down that it's a 155 factory, so you can get an idea. Even though they're both at 20 supply, you want the command center first. Yeah, and then they drop the mule, and it's the Reaper, and I'm pretty sure INnovation gets a tech lab instead of a reactor on his barracks after this. So it's the second gas first, so it's going to be like 22 gas. It's already been building for like 5 or 6 seconds, so we'll say it's like a 210 gas. So that's going to be that, and then it's the supply depot. This doesn't seem significant, but it is a pretty big deal. All things said and done, yeah, it's still 22. You want to be able to get everything in the right order because it can slow down other parts of the build. Like if you get the tech lab before this depot, you might get supply blocked. You know what I'm saying? And then your first unit's a little late. So it is going to be that tech lab. So that's going to be like tech lab 215. We're not going to put a supply marker on that because it's kind of like a given. It's the next thing. Saturate the gas. All right, everything looks pretty good here. I don't think it really matters what INnovation does with this Reaper as far as copying his build goes. Like he's gonna poke a little bit, but obviously he doesn't want to lose the Reaper, so he's gonna pull it away from the mothership core. What I want to know is, all right, so the first thing that he does when the barracks is done is swap the factory over to the tech lab, and he starts the Cyclone. And the reason why this is important to note is he could have started a second factory and a reactor. He could have already done that. So it is Cyclone first. So it's Cyclone first. Then what looks to be about, 29 supply factory. And that factory is going to be at 255, 250-ish. So just put 250 there because that, you know, in a theoretical world, you could go faster than INnovation. And then we're going to say plus a reactor from the racks. So after swap. So the racks just floats over, builds the reactor. I'm pretty sure INnovation gets a reactor instead of a second tech lab with this build. Yeah, he goes for a reactor. So you go for the Cyclone. He's got the orbital on the way in the natural. This is all very kosher, very standard. Obviously going 2 factory is always weird. So he builds 1 Cyclone, and then does he get an upgrade? Does he start another one? Okay, so it's straight into 2 Cyclones. So say 2nd Cyclone. Because I want to know when exactly he gets the upgrades. He starts to wall off the natural, and he swaps, obviously, swap fact onto reactor, pump out, and let's see, what is Innovation going to pump out first? Hellions. Okay, so we'll say Hellions. Supply doesn't matter anymore at this point. If you're a scrub, you probably already lost half your workers to an Oracle anyway. And if you're good, well, you didn't really need me to give you supply anyway. So 2 Cyclones out, and then he starts Magfield. So after 2nd Cyclone, so we'll just say 2nd Cyclone, and then Magfield Accelerator. So, and after that, you can start your third, then 3rd Cyclone. So the biggest thing you want to do is you want to time everything out, because if a player like Innovation has his build set up in this particular way that he gets Magfield before his 3rd Cyclone, and maybe because having it a few seconds earlier allows him to deal with certain things, or sets himself up for whatever timing he wants to make a little bit better. And this Reaper is going to go check for a 3rd base. He's just going to go look, try to see if there's anything interesting to look at, whatever, blah, blah, blah. No one cares. All about this build. And notice, obviously, he's going to keep building depots at the front. It's going to help with getting swarmed by any sort of big gateway push. He kind of scouted a late 3rd base from the Protoss. The Protoss should be taking their 3rd, like, now. I guess it's not late. If he takes it right now, it's not late. So he will be able to see that. Now, he sees that there's a 3rd base. This is a standard Protoss play. Keep in mind, there's no gases on the natural. He has no gas at his natural. He's playing this off of just 2 geysers. He starts an engineering bay as he pushes out. So we'll say, what does he push with? 3 Cyclones and about 6 Hellions. Okay, so we'll say push at 3 Cyclone plus 6 Hellion, and then start eBay as units leave base. So as units leave your base, you start at the Hellions, or excuse me, you start the engineering bay. I said eBay, yeah. And you use that to get missile turrets to cover your ass. And I imagine that the follow-up to this has to be the 3rd. So I actually didn't realize this. Innovation takes his 3rd base before he gets his extra gases. And I think this is really cool. So the 3rd base is going to be right as he pushes. So 3rd at push. So 5, so like we'd say about 506. And Inno builds on location. This is ideal, risky, but you can make the call in your own games whether you want to be that greedy or if you want to build it somewhere else. So Innovation pokes up, and then is there any particular way that he uses the Cyclones? He locks on, he focuses the lock on onto the Nexus, runs by. Obviously he wants to run away from the Stalkers, so he kills the 3rd base, and then he has his Cyclone Hellion rallied across the map, by the way. That's important to keep in mind. He doesn't mind rallying across. And during this push, he's going to start up 3rd factory. 3rd factory. This is what, 525-ish or something like that. And just kind of tries to fight out a little bit. Obviously, you want to use the lock-on as much as you can. It's a lot of Stalkers, though, for Innovation to play versus. So this whole army is going to get pretty much completely cleaned up as he goes on the retreat. Still no extra gases on the natural. Okay, now he takes them, so let's say maybe 535, right? And double gas nat, 535. By the way, this sort of micro does take a lot of APM. Innovation has enough money to have done everything here like 20 seconds faster if he wasn't controlling his units out on the field. You can always get better at this game. You can always get better. And it's just Cyclones, man. Cyclones and Hellions. These Stalkers are going to poke. A little bit of aggression. Is there anything fancy he does to deal with it? Not really. Might have to pull the boys here. Hellions are blocking. He doesn't know about the 3rd base. That helps a lot. Innovation's going to pull his SCVs and just knock this back at long last. So definitely hurt. And now he's up to double Cyclone production. And I imagine the next move is, yeah, just 2 more factories. Armory is not a big deal. I actually love that Innovation isn't getting an armory. Because whenever I'm doing this style, people on my stream always ask me, like, why no upgrades? But the Cyclone's lock-on is not affected by upgrades. The Cyclone's lock-on does and will always do this much damage. 400 plus 400 versus armored. Period. Zero exceptions. So, yeah, no upgrade will affect that. Maybe armor can help, but Protoss units do a lot of damage, so armor is not as impactful with this composition. It's more about getting up a lot of Cyclones as fast as you can. So, as these extra 2 factories finish up, so I guess we'll basically just say 2 fact, then double gas third base, and blue flame. And that's pretty much it for the opening. I think everything else that you could do with this build order is going to be very obvious stuff, like build depots, take 4th base, etc., etc. If you have to ask about those timings, you're probably not ready to play a composition like this, so you should always focus on getting your 3 base and being able to execute this opening before you worry about other stuff. He'll probably take his 4th base if he wins a fight, just so he knows he's safe. Or the game will end, so we'll see. How does he handle a prism coming in? What is this? Double immortal? Well, state's crazy, so I guess it doesn't surprise me. He's got enough Hellions to buffer. He wants to use the lock-on and then chase. Scanning keeps the lock-on range, so he uses the Hellions to defend the drop. Obviously, it's a lot of Adepts and Immortals, which are extremely good against these units. So he'll clean this up. And actually just killed most of Innovation's workers inside here. Innovation is... This game's actually pretty weird now that I think about it. Because he's done no harass, but is still ahead in supply. Actually, you know what? That's funny. I think Innovation's ahead in supply, but actually I forget that Cyclones are for supply in this patch. So, it's only the beta patch that's... Oh, nice scan. See how he scans to hit the last hit on that? Really nice. Cyclone's supply is grossly inflated because of the last nerf to it. But it's still a big army. Innovation's macro is actually just disgusting as well, so... Yeah, and then you just see, just kind of move out. You can focus fire. If you use rapid fire hotkeys, which I also have a tutorial for, you can use rapid fire to spam lock-on really hard on things like buildings. And then, of course, he's just kiting the A clicks once to gain a target. You don't need to manually lock on in scenarios like this. That's why auto lock is so good. And then he just has an army that's extremely mobile. And State is going to try to sandwich him here. That's actually a really beautiful sandwich play. But there's so much here. And Innovation does finally get double armory and move into 1-1, but it's not early at all. The armor upgrade is the most important for the Cyclone. Obviously, attack will help everything, but it's not. It was not the priority early on. 5 factory before double armory is definitely an aggressive sort of setup, but that's because Cyclones are meant to be out on the map, constantly moving around and pushing. As you can see, the Hellbats are also going to make it very difficult to blink into this army, so very strong units, as they do more than double the damage of a Hellion versus Stalkers, so that's a big deal. And what is he really playing against? Looks like it's going to turn into Archons. So Charge Lot Archon is going to be a setup with maybe Immortals and still some Stalkers, but there is just so much here. And I love that whenever he's out on the map, he has them in Hellions, and when he goes to fight, he turns them into Hellbats, lets them soak, keeps the Cyclones behind, just spamming their lock-on as much as he can and eradicating the forces. Really sick way Innovation plays. And when he's on his 4th base, which he took when he felt he was comfortable with it, he's got a lot of extra SCVs. I guess this is okay because he's constantly trading. But he does have, what's the number of factories here? 8 factories with just 2 reactors. So 6 tech labbed factories, because Cyclones are so cheap. They're actually very inexpensive now ever since the change to their gas cost. And of course, you can use rapid fire to have multiple Cyclones focus fire down with their lock-on and Immortal, which allows Cyclones to kill an Immortal even through its barrier very quickly. And as you can see, at this point, the tide of Cyclones will never stop. And having the Hellbats mixed in is also really, really nice. So that's pretty sick. And that's all he does. Take another base, get to 2, more Cyclones for me, less other units for you. Really cool to see how Innovation uses this style. If you're up against any other sort of composition, really you do the same thing. You want the Hellions, Hellbats to tank. I think if your opponent goes for some sort of Sky Toss, Widow Mines can also be useful. But this is a really cool example of, you know, a really good player playing an awesome style that isn't considered viable. But yeah, it's pretty awesome. So there you go, guys. Innovation Cyclone memes. He has joined the Cyclone train. Thank you all for watching this. Make sure if you like this, leave a comment in the section below. And check out my live stream, twitch.tv/Nathanias, where you can catch me doing all this great stuff live. I'll see you guys next time.